Are you guilty of using non-inclusive language? Do you use naughty words? Well, let's find out. So the University of Washington, it's based in Seattle, and it's involved with the IT industry, and it's come up with a list of naughty words that we need to start avoiding. And this is what they said. They said the University of Washington has joined IT organisations at universities around the country that are involved in activities to replace racist, sexist, ageist, ableist, homophobic, and of course add transphobic into those words, or otherwise non-inclusive language scattered throughout materials and resources in the software and information technology fields. And so what they seemed to do was they got together a group of people. There was dozens of people, leadership, service owners and service managers in IT and advisory committee. So basically they found people that would be most offended, got most upset at any words that were used, and got them to make up this very long list. And they even put up a model letter that they would use to write to vendors and other organisations that they're involved with if they use these naughty words. Let's have a look at this letter. And it says, "Dear insert vendor name, the University of Washington works to foster an inclusive and welcoming culture for everyone in our campus community, and we wish to work with suppliers who share this desire. Unfortunately, in working with your product or service, we have identified language that can be considered offensive due to its racist, ableist, and or sexist origins, specifically the use of and the naughty word. Can you let us know what efforts you are undertaking to move away from this language so as to create a more inclusive product or service?" There we go. It sounds like a naughty letter from mum telling you off, doesn't it, when you're a kid? Very condescending. So, what were these words? And I mean, they actually admit that a lot of these words are part of colloquial language, and they refer to colloquial language as ordinary language by common people. Ordinary language by common people. We just all use them. And so let's have a look at some of the ones on the list. Okay, firstly, anything that says black or white. So blacklist, whitelist, those are all naughty words because of slavery connotations and critical race theory, basically, of victims, oppressors, and oppressed. White is oppressor and non-white is being oppressed. Grandfathering, a grandfather clause. And of course, that's an IT provision, which is an old rule which carries through even when a new rule applies to future cases. But apparently, grandfather clause, no, it originated in the 1890s and apparently was about preventing black African Americans from voting, which I wasn't even aware of, but a grandfather clause. So grandfather has that negative connotation, apparently. Master. Oh, if master is in reference to a person who is in charge of the group and evokes the offensive master-slave dynamic, then master should be replaced. So no more webmasters. Can't have the webmaster. Brown bags. Now, I don't know if at work you've had a brown bag or brown paper bag lunch, and usually it's bring your own lunch. And it's called brown paper bag because that's generally what the colour of the bags are. When you go to the bakery, they are brown. But no, they refer to an ugly period of American history that can alienate and offend people, apparently. Never knew that with a brown paper bag. Lower the bar. Apparently lower the bar is insulting. They don't actually give a really good reason why, but it's not accepted. Minority. Don't use the word minority. Because they say often minority refers to groups of people that are racially or ethnically different from the racial or ethnic majority. Well, it's actually minority groups that use that term themselves, so they don't seem to be offended by it. No can do. If you say no can do, apparently that's offensive. What might seem like a folksy abbreviated version of I can't do it is actually an imitation of Chinese pidgin English. And apparently that's showing racism towards the Chinese. Blind spot. Yeah, I'm teaching my daughter to drive at the moment. Watch your blind spot, darling. But no, this phrase is ableist and connoting that blind is equivalent to ignorant. Well, you're just saying it's a blind spot. You can't see. It's just a factual matter. Fell on deaf ears. Can't use that term either. Same type of reasoning. This was an interesting one. You can't say see something, see this web page. Though the uses of the word see aren't inherently incorrect or necessarily offensive, content providers should avoid using the word see in situations in which a more accurate non-ableist word would be better. So don't write see the notes at the end of the article. No, you should put refer to the notes at the end of the article. Lovely. Of course, they then get into pronouns and the whole, he, she, he and she, his and her, they just say, look, using the binary pronoun and possessive pronoun is no longer considered accurate due to greater understanding and acceptance that gender and sexual orientation are not binary or limited to male or female or he, his, and he, her. So when you write something like applicants for the position should submit his or her resume and cover letter, don't write that. That's very naughty. Write applicants for the position should submit their resume and cover letter. There we are. Feel better. Housekeeping. Can't use the word housekeeping because the language can feel gendered. It carries a fraught history and connotation of women's traditional domestic roles as housekeepers. So even I can't do the housekeeping, apparently. I must tell my wife that. Male or female connectors and fasteners. Now, if you're a plumber or a sparky, you'll know the importance of male and female, the difference, the role, and the importance for connection. But it's problematic, according to the University of Washington. Use of male or female anatomy to describe electrical and IT connectors and fasteners and sexualize how they fit together is inherently problematic. They don't actually say why, but it just is, apparently. Preferred pronouns. Apparently we're not allowed to say what is your preferred pronoun. It's problematic because preferred implies that a person's pronoun is optional, and it suggests that gender identity and expression is a preference, and that respectful pronoun use is therefore optional. Oh, okay, well, it was actually those groups that were asking us to use their preferred pronoun. Guys. Now you can't use the word guys. You can't say hi guys. Terrible. Very sexist, very bad, don't use. Virgin, you can't use the word virgin, so the first run or the first launch or the even virgin olive oil. It's problematic because of strong association to a woman who has not had sex and the negative and emotionally charged stereotypes associated with the word. Yep, apparently virgin has negative and emotionally charged stereotypes, but it only applies to women, apparently. Now, it's a full-on list. Those are just some of the doozies. And it looks like everybody is looking for offence. So I was actually interested just to look around the media in New Zealand and also just look at some websites and businesses and see whether we're guilty in New Zealand of using some of these terms. And I saw this on the One News website that apparently the UN has a blacklist. I mean, you can't use that term. Here's the Māori News Service, and they have a Lama sex suspect blacklist as well. The Australian were talking about this anti-vax messages and the use of a term blackfishing, which it comes from the term catfishing. And blackfishing apparently includes a wide range of behaviours that, such as falsely claiming to be black or co-opting the experiences of black people. There we are. But apparently you shouldn't be using that term. And it was interesting, while I was preparing for this, I actually saw an email from Spark, which talked about a brownout. And I didn't know what that was referring to. And apparently it's a type of a power outage. And you'll see there that you can have a permanent fault, a blackout, but you can also have a brownout, which is a drop of voltage in an electrical power supply. So, I mean, that is just completely offensive, and, they just should not be using that. As also, just over the last couple of weeks, while I went for some exercise, I saw a couple of businesses go past, which really should be cancelled. I mean, they just should not be using their terms. These terms are just so offensive. I saw the fireman, can't use that anymore. I saw tire master, master, not good. I saw this lovely company called Mums for Hire. Yep, this was a group of women that called themselves Mums for Hire, but they didn't seem offended by it. I saw the cable guy. Can't have the cable guy. And I saw this lovely other cleaning company called Posh Ladies Cleaning. Yep, that's what they called themselves, and they didn't seem worried about it. I saw Hane Harawira, of all people, talking about in Parliament about KiwiSaver and saying about blacklisting areas to be deserts of deprivation. So he uses the term blacklisting and doesn't seem to be that offended by it. Even the Green Party talked about supermarkets blacklisting suppliers. So it seems to be evident, and what it seems to me is that people are looking for offence, but this is part of critical theory, that everybody is a victim and everybody else is an oppressor, and we are looking for offence. We are looking for words that are going to offend people, and in fact, the people that apparently it's supposed to offend are using them themselves and aren't that offended at all. I mean, it's just exhausting because you spend your whole time trying to figure out whether a word you're about to use is offensive or not. And really, I think we just all need to chill a little. I mean, this whole thing just exhausts me, just trying to make sure I don't say offensive words. So I'm going to have a cup of tea and a lie down. So see you later, guys. Whoops.